Hi, good evening. I wanted to do a little impromptu video here, and I'm sorry that there is no view of me in it. It's a little bit unfriendly, but I have, as I say, this is an impromptu idea here. I have received very fabulous delivery. So I got a Needleneeds Millenium frame delivered yesterday, and normally I would have torn it open with incredible excitement, but I was out yesterday evening, and so I had to leave it. And now tonight I find myself alone in the house and with a little bit of time to unpack it and hopefully get it together. And I thought I would just take this opportunity to do a quick video to show you what comes in the package and to talk to you a little bit about what I picked out. And because I'm home alone and having just a girly night of doing lovely things like stitching, my hair is up, my makeup is off, I am in a lovely Peepois sample nightgown, which I'd like to be able to show you, but that would be a sneak peek for next season anyway. So best to just be a bit unfriendly this time, I'm sorry to say. In any event, I hope that this is interesting. So this is what I received. It comes in a big long box, as you can see, and this is the second part here to the left. And it's not all that heavy, which was a pleasant surprise. All I've done is unseal it so that I wasn't messing around with it. It's a bit awkward in size, and opened it right up, and immediately when you open it you get this set of instructions for putting it together. So I will tackle that as soon as I've finished shooting this, and then of course I'll give you a view of the final product. So this is the instructions for assembling your frame. So what I actually got is 2 frames, and I got the stand. So in here, I'll just unpack this here, and I apologize for the loud bubble wrap sounds. I might have to just grab my knife. And obviously I don't want to slice through to the wood. That would be a disaster. So everything is packed in this bubble wrap tape, and even though, so you can order a complete kit, which, so you can go onto their website, the Needleneeds website, and see exactly what comes in a kit. But you also can change that, and I decided to get 2 frames because I figured I really wanted the biggest size that they do, which is the 36-inch, and then the corresponding side stretcher, sorry, 36 cm, and then the corresponding side stretchers, which are the longest side stretchers. I think they're 18. And then I got a smaller one, but not teeny tiny, because I don't tend to work on really tiny projects. And anyway, when I do, I would just use like a seated hoop, for example. So this is a couple of the arms, and I guess the point that I was making, excuse me, the side stretchers, the point that I was making was that I ordered sort of bespoke items. So normally it comes with, I think, 1 frame and a couple different arms, so that those could be interchangeable. One set with side stretchers, a couple different arms. And so, sorry about that. I thought, just because there is a long wait, I would go ahead and get 2 different sizes while I was at it. And in doing so, I didn't get the exact same thing that they're packing in the box every time. and yet it appears to be quite well packed. You know, just like a very mathematical brain, so that there really was not a lot of shaking going on. And I might just pause the video and unwrap a little bit more and then show you the pieces so that you're not listening to this hideous bubble wrap sound the whole time. So these are the 2 sets of side stretchers. So you can see here, that is the shorter one. So that stretches to about there, I think, is the maximum you can do, thereabouts. And then, of course, these can go longer. But that represents the width of the frame you're working on. So I'm going to pause the video and just unpack some more bits and pieces, but this gives you a sense of how it comes when it arrives with the instructions. And then the only other thing that pops out first thing is this plastic card, which is used to pack the frames. So that's something else I haven't shown you. And this is branded with their name and information on it, which is a lovely touch. I've heard, though, that you could use any kind of credit card or something, piece of cardboard, but it's a good tool to have until you lose it. Okay, be back with you shortly. Okay, so we're back, and I've unpacked a little bit more just to show you what was inside that box. So that box contained the 2 frames and the arms to support the stand. So you see here, I've just kind of loosely plugged together the frame of that has 10 to 12 inch side stretchers. So 10 to 12 inches is the length that these can go that way. And then lengthwise, it's 20 inches. So about, well, a little over 1.5 feet. And then in the back, you can see I have a longer one, which I haven't put together, but that one is the 36-inch frame and the 15 to 18-inch side stretchers. The idea being, of course, that anything that's on this part can be rolled. So you can go wider than your side stretches allow, but your fabric will be limited by this width here. So I suppose I should say your fabric could go longer than the side stretchers because it can roll onto these bars, but it's limited by this width. And so to me, this is a frame that I would use for smaller projects, but projects that are still big enough that I don't want to hoop them. Any frame that's smaller in size than this, I would probably just work on a hoop, and I quite like a seat hoop because I just find it really easy to work with, and I can take it anywhere, you know, from long car rides and so on. But I have found, even on my largest hoop, it can be hard to get the hoop such that it's not hitting interesting pieces of the embroidery that I'm worried about getting messed up, and that particularly comes into play when I'm doing ribbon work, which has quite a lot on the surface, and certainly stump work. It would be a problem too if the edge of the hoop caught onto a section of stitches you don't want it to. So for something like that, I prefer to get the whole project out. And to me, so this is kind of the next step up for my biggest hoop if I want to see it all in one place. And then, of course, for projects that are even bigger, the largest that Needleneeds can do is this 36-inch frame and the 15 to 18-inch sidebars. But again, it won't be limited to those sidebars because you can roll it for length. That's not something that you could do for ribbon work. But I don't usually do ribbon work at such a huge scale as that. And if I did, I would probably think about getting something more custom built, which I have found a source for on Etsy, then you're getting into slate frames, which is a lot more work to frame up. And that's probably fine for such a big deal project as that, where you're needing something that's wider than that size can accommodate in just ribbon work. And if it were that special, I probably would make the investment in time in a slate frame. But the other thing that was worth pointing out here is that I have 2 sets of these arms which go on the stand. I had heard from other reviews, so that's the shorter one. You'll see these are the 2 sizes here. I had heard from the reviews that you could just put any size project onto the longer ones, and so a person really only needed the longer size. But when you buy a kit and a frame, they give you an extra set of arms, and I said, well, maybe I don't need that. And John, who's very lovely and works at Needleneeds, said, no, you do, because if you put a small frame on a quite long set of these arms, you're going to be putting weight right at the end here, and it won't be balanced well. So it's probably a better example to show you the longer ones if I can get them into the frame here. But the idea is, if you have a small frame that's just putting pressure on the end, then you're quite a long distance from where the frame connects, and so you're tilting the weight forward, which makes sense. So they're the least expensive part of what you buy here anyway. So that's why I figured I'd get the longer ones. And it's not inexpensive. I don't think I'll quote figures in this video because they are readily available online. It does represent a substantial investment to buy this equipment, but it really is lovely and handmade. And I know a lot has been said as well about delivery times and waiting times and things. I can get into that in some more detail if people are interested. Though I'll say, I think, it's not the sort of thing that you would be buying as an impulse anyway. And so to me, it's one of these things that you buy because of its price and its craftsmanship, and because to me it's something one needs, especially when they're looking at bigger projects. It's something you probably think about buying over a period of time and then make the investment in at a certain stage. And so at that point, I think it's okay if it doesn't come the next day. I didn't find the wait to be excruciating long. Now, I'm based in the UK, and so it certainly helped that the transport time was very quick for me, really, really quick. We're talking days, and that's with our national public mail delivery system here, which is called the Royal Mail. And so I got mine, with a very reasonable time. And the other thing I would say is the support was really wonderful. You'll see on the website that it says everything is sold out and by wait list, I think. They make them in batches, so they tend to have some and then sell them and have some and sell them and so on. So it is worth, if you don't see what you need online, sending them an email. And though they may not get back to you within 24 hours, they aren't very slow. It shouldn't be more than a couple of days for them to respond. And then, you can have a conversation about when their next availability may be. And I found them to be incredibly reliable, I have to say. I mean, they quoted me when my frame would be ready, my frames and my stand. And it was accurate to the day. And this was after a holiday weekend and things. So, a lot of people have said it's a small business and they make everything from hand and so on, and that's certainly true and wonderful. But on top of that, I would say I found them to be really reliable and communicative. So I wouldn't let that hold you back. I think they sometimes have more orders than they can even accommodate. So that might be something that could prevent you from getting what you need. But do reach out to them if you're interested, and just try your luck at what their response is in terms of their wait times. But So that's my little caveat there. This is the next thing that I wanted to show you, which is this is the frame. So, sorry, the stand. So we've just looked at the two frames and the arms for the stand, and now this is the stand, which comes in its own sort of box within the box. So next step is I am going to open this, and hopefully I can do that within the frame here. And by frame, I am referring to the camera frame. Just to show you what it looks like inside. So the outside has a lovely picture, and I imagine these are printed up for when they sell at fairs and the like. So this gives you their contact information and tells you a bit about the size of the stand and what it can do. And then inside, this is what you see. So it's wood and just beautifully done, stamped with their information on it, which is a really nice touch. And very thoughtfully packed. You know, you can tell this is a company that handcrafts and is really thoughtful about shapes and sizes and the way things join. And that might sound obvious, but you know, in mass manufacturing, these kinds of subtle details don't go in, such as this perfectly cut piece of cardboard going in the top. And then we have instructions. So this is assembly instructions with photographs. And so I am going to get started and putting this together. And when you see me again, hopefully it will be all put together and it won't have taken too long. And I will show you a shot of the final view. Okay, and here we are, the final Needleworks Necessaire stand. So I'd say that took me about a half an hour to put together. And though my review of everything so far has been pretty glowing, I will say the instructions for putting it together were not the best. So I think there's some typos in them and some wrong descriptions and things, so I gave up quite quickly actually, and then just switched. Thankfully, there is another fabulous video here on YouTube, and I will just put the link to that below. And that is of Nicola Parkman of Hand Across the Seas Samplers, and she is lovely and does fabulous videos, and she's done mostly videos of her products, which are antique samplers, but she also has done a couple of videos on the Millenium frame and the Necessaire stand from Needleneeds, and they're great, and they show you exactly how to put it together. And so I just watched that video in slow-mo, and that's what worked for me. I found that physically putting it together was mostly fine. There were some little bits, like getting these hooks onto the ends, which hurt my fingers a bit to do. And there was only one place, which is at the bottom of this stand here, where there is a little bolt sticking out, probably more than it should be. Generally, I found the holes to be quite good and fit for purpose. One of the things that I didn't get the gist of from either Nicola's video or from the instructions is why these arms have these two holes. Because it is the back hole on both of them, which from Nicola's video is where she screwed it into. And when I say both of them, on both sides, I found that the back hole was hard to get into, but she does screw it into that hole. And this mirror hole was a bit better, but I didn't use it because she didn't. Now, I don't know why that is. If I had to guess, I think that the point of these holes is just to give you two options in length of the arms. And so I probably could use this first hole. And I also don't think that these arms need to be extraordinarily tight. So perhaps it's not a big deal that I couldn't get that bolt in the back super, super tight. But that's the only thing that was bugging me. The other thing is these arms are quite short. These are the arms that have come with this stand. But as I showed you earlier, I have ordered 2 other sets of arms to accommodate the frame sizes I ordered. So I don't think I will use these arms that often. And in that case, it probably doesn't matter anyway. But that's the only critique I would have in terms of the physical stand itself. Other than that, as I say, the instructions weren't great, but Nicola's video is wonderful, and I will link that so you can follow it. And then physically, it was quite easy to put together, but for the occasional little pinching of fingers and pulling things. Actually, the other thing is that when I was putting it together, technically, I think that this knob and this knob are supposed to be on the same side, but it's this knob that it controls the lever up and down, and I happen to be a lefty, so I'm happy to have it on the left-hand side. And also, I don't get the sense from the construction that it matters. But I just physically had a hard time getting that bolt through on the other side, so I put it on the left side. So yeah, just a couple little niggly things maybe with the holes and how they were screwed, and it's all handmade, so that sort of thing will happen. But I suppose I was thinking because it was handmade, that sort of thing was less likely to happen. You know, that the holes not being the exact right size and a little bit tough is more the kind of thing that you get from the IKEAs and the industrial people in the world, and that maybe on this all of those little bits would be tested. But nothing too dramatic really, and the stand itself feels solid and beautifully made and very smooth, and I'm looking forward to using it. So I will pop something up on Instagram probably when I get my first project set up on it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below, of course, and I will try to put some useful links both to Needleneeds, who makes the stand, and also to the video that I referenced. Okay, thanks everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Hi, it's me. Just one more quick thing to say, which is now I've got this frame set up in a stitching area, and I have the stand set up. And I've noticed, because I've been reading instructions about how you can extend these bars, and I was a little confused as to which size I had ordered, and reading with a small amount of panic about how you can't extend them too far, otherwise it could break the frame. That each size has an amount that it can be extended to. So I was thinking perhaps the best thing to do is to mark it on the screw here, so that I can always make sure I don't go past the point, but with that mark rub off over time as this wheels onto it and off of it. And so actually what I discovered is that the company makes 3 sizes of arm stretchers, the 10, the 14, and the 18. And they also make 3 sizes of the arms. And so the best thing to do, actually, because I've measured it now, these are the 14-inch arm stretchers. So that means that when they are fully extended, they can get to 14 inches. And the arms, when the frame takes up the full width of the arm, it is at 13.5. So that is built-in protection of sorts. So rather than worrying about marking the point on the frame, I know that as long as I'm using the medium-size arm stretchers on the medium-size arm, it can go to the maximum of that arm, and that is okay. That's within its tolerance. So just a quick one from me to say, top tip there, use the right size arm stretchers with the right size arms for the frame, and you shouldn't have a problem expanding beyond the point where you're supposed to expand to, which is another reason to buy these arms in the correct size for your frame rather than to just get the largest one and work from that. And luckily, these are the least expensive part of the kit, so it really is worth getting the right size of those. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.